the gum trees sway. Lives grumpy granny, she's leading the fray. Leather curlers tight.
Here's John.
Hey, John.
Hello.
Here's Johnny.
What, can't you hear me, or?
Yeah, I can. Just have.
Oh, you've been funny. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, well, I thought I was being funny, but apparently not.
We're gonna go, here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny. So I just thought tonight, because it's the first one, we'd just do a bit of a. I don't want to do an overly long one. We'd just have a bit of a general chat about anything that's changed and a general sort of catch up with each other and see what's happening with everybody. None of you are selling any of your live animals on eBay anymore. No more no worms. Yeah, no composting worms or starter culture aquariums. You're not allowed to list any of that stuff anymore. Our commitment to animal welfare means live animals may not be sold on eBay. The only exception to the rule are sea monkeys. Live animals, including pet vertebrae and invertebrate feeder animals and hatching animals, aren't allowed on eBay.
What about dead animals? Are dead animals allowed?
Well, it says live animals, so it doesn't say, I assume dead animals. I mean, I assume they wouldn't be very happy if they weren't, dried out and taxidermied or whatever.
Okay, I'm going to throw this is something that I was investigating last year. If you go onto eBay, animal skulls, like goat skulls with horns, antlers, all that sort of stuff, that sells for really good money. Really, really good money.
Really, does it?
Like small goats' heads with horns. And the horns is the key, but they've got to have horns. I was seeing prices anywhere from $50 to $80. But if you're like a ram's skull with like big curled horns, you're talking, $100-$200. Obviously, there's a weight thing that you've got to pay to ship it, but
I saw that. Backs that I should walk out into my front garden and collect all the bones that are out there and the skulls and skeletons that are out there and sell them on eBay.
Yeah, just make sure they're not human, that's all.
Yeah, no. I think they're all a little bit deeper down.
Yeah.
I probably don't want to sell mine, though, because they're all off our farm. I'm a bit attached to them.
Well, if you're short on cash and you need some quick money, it's there.
Maybe I should get unattached to them very quickly. The change to clothing policy where you've got to choose a condition for your clothing. I'm pretty much, I left everything as good apart from each day when I do my end and sell similars. If I'm coming across stuff that I know is in excellent condition, as in when it's new with tags, I don't list it as new. I always put it still as pre-loved. So in that case, if it was, if there were no issues with it, I would change it to being excellent. And he wanted to get to 3,000, which he's still not at. He's almost there, so I've set him a race to see who can get to. I've got to get to 3,100 because I'm a bit ahead of him, and he's got to get to 3,000 and see who can get there first. And Sandra, you're in the race as well. But yeah, if he's not listing, he's not going to get there, is he? Essentially, we're all got to increase our number of listings by about 200. So you set your thing of what you choose that you want it to be, but you can't say you're going to do 50 and we do 200, but round about 200 listings increase. Would you like to join in, John?
Oh, do I want to?
Well,
and so it's fastest there. There's the time limit's only by how fast you go.
Exactly. Yep. First to the line. Anyone else? Bax, you can join in. Liz can join in. Ben, anyone can join in. Oh, there's changes to the dimensional weight-based rate tables. So Rob's given us a little explanation here over the cubic shipping thing. As parcels over 1 kilogram are cubic, so charged highest weight, either cubed or physical. So if you have a 1.5 kilogram but a giant box, you'll get charged the cubic weight, not the actual weight. And so, it's going on the parcel size. Correct. And Lee says, hi, couldn't remember how to turn voice on. Sorry, she said an alert, but she didn't get it.
Oh, how are you? What's the topic, Gigi? What have I missed?
So at the moment, we've just talked about a few of the changes that have recently been made by eBay, and so making sure you're not selling any of your live animals, including your worms and that sort of stuff, and that you're only selling seahorses is the only live thing that you're allowed to sell now.
How hard are seahorses to breed?
Well,
does anyone know?
Sea monkeys.
Yes, sea monkeys.
Oh, sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys. Brine shrimp would be relatively easy, I would think, but yeah. Yeah, so we just went over that. Now we're just going around seeing how everybody's travelling for this first part of 2025. And then I got on to asking people about time away because I am definitely going on a week's holiday at some point in the future. One has to finally bite the bullet, and I've got to go to Werribee for something else. So I thought I'd take a week. I'm going to go and visit Adam, so I hope he's cleared a space on the floor for me to get in the doorway when I get there. Followed by, then I'm going to have to go and meet my birth father, I guess.
Is that right?
I should do that before it carks it, I suppose. So that could be a bit of fun.
Is he cognitive? He doesn't have dementia or anything?
Oh, I think he's starting to get a bit that way. Well, I mean, it won't be any different for me because he denied I existed. So, if he doesn't know who I am, well, I guess it's no different.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it'll be good. I think it'll be good to spend time with my brothers, and yeah, we'll be good. That part will be fun. They pop over to each other's houses now, so that's pretty amazing. For those of you that don't know, so I have two of my half brothers that I call my brothers, but yeah, so we've just recently found a newer brother, and as it turns out, my oldest brother that I have met and my newest brother that I have also met in person, but anyway, turns out they live in the same street just across the road from each other and can see each other's houses from where they are, and they live in a tiny little suburb in Melbourne. And come on now. And I always forget the name of it, called Botanic Ridge. And it's kind of like being built on a golf course. So it's one of those really small communities. And they live in the same street.
But we are blaming it on the milkman.
Yeah, well, yeah. We'll blame it on the plumber. I think he was doing more than plumbing the pipes. I've had a fairly good start to the year sales-wise, I have to say. The first week was still a bit sluggish after Christmas, which generally I find that it is. But then a few days after New Year, things started to come up. I actually find this in January is my book sales seem to pick up. And I do think there are a lot of people still on, parents that are on leave or whatever because it's school holidays that have a bit more time to themselves or, are relaxing a bit more and want to fill in their time, and people buy books.
Sold at $28 including postage, and my price was $28, so I just went and dropped it down to $24, and I thought
it is very hard. I mean, I guess that's one of the reasons I don't buy cookbooks, because I can't compete with that sort of pricing. Absolutely can't. And those books are bigger; they take up a lot more space, so I steer clear of them because I know that I can't sell them at that, and I don't find it worth my while taking the time of listing those if I'm only going to make a couple of dollars profit. So I'd rather go and list something weird and wonderful like the, Daphne du Maurier book that I sold and sit on it for a bit longer and sell it for more. But yeah, that's just me. So Rob just wants to give us all a reminder for those of you that may not know that there is a Band 5 code that you can get for My Post Business. So if you're not on Band 5, you can use this promotional code and get Band 5 for a month. Now, on that, I've created a couple of extra marketing coupons and stuff because I want to try and, while I'm on Band 5, I want to try and get make the most of it and try and sell more stuff. Well, you know how I started the 33% off VHS yesterday evening. So not long after that, I actually got a VHS sale, which took advantage of that. It's only, it's within Australia, but it was for a couple of Barney VHS. So if I can clear out a lot of those, will be good because they do take up a lot of space too. So I just have to work out what marketing tool I'm going to use for my books because I don't know whether to do something different with those than what I've done with what I'm doing. I'm doing a straight 33% off VHS and hats because they go together, of course, in my strange head. But with the clothing, I never have any luck with the buy two, get one free deal, but I'm trying that again just to see whether that helps. Promote some of the clothing. No one's taken that up yet, but we'll see. And then I thought I'd do something else with the books, but I'm not quite sure whether I'll do a coupon or a markdown sale or a bulk discount. I don't know. Any suggestions will be welcomed. I'm pretty sure I started it the first week was either the last week in January or the first week in February. 3 years. Rob says, I'm currently trialling a regional surcharge on my free shipping. Just the difference between zone 1 and 3 is just too much to handle. Yeah. And I guess that's one of the big things too that I discovered, like with, getting that band 5 discount. So prior to I was on band 3 since the start of the year. So if I send rural, it's costing me $10.62, so I don't get much of a discount. On band 5, it's costing me $10.40. Wow, I save a whole 22 cents. If I'm sending to metro areas, it only costs me $8.76. I'm never going to get that city-to-city discount, because that's such capital city to capital city, like a lot of people will get. Yeah, the chances of me sending something within my own metropolitan area is next to none. And when you do the international sales is where you get the good discounts. It is a pain that we have to pay fees calculated on that VAT or the sales tax or whatever it is. They calculate it on that. If everyone wants to have a look at over the weekend I had not too bad with clothes. I sold, no, it's going back too far, isn't it? So 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of jeans and a review jumper and a belt, I think. Oh, and some golf pants. So, yeah, that's not too bad over a weekend. And, yeah, stack of books. Bird books, fantasy, large print, 39 clues. What else? Merv and Me. Now, this was a nice little one. Merv and Me by Merv Hughes and Ian Cover. And he had signed it, Merv had. And you could tell that because the text actually bled through to the other side of the page. And Marcus from Tasmania bought it after a little bit of toing and froing about making sure there was no other writing inside the book. And I thought, I always take photos if there is. But I reassured him there was no other writing in it. And we came to an agreement on the price. And so I took an offer for a book that cost me 50 cents when I got it. It's been sitting in one of the crates in my back room for 2 years. Finally got around to listing it. Realised it was autographed, so put an extra $20 on it. And then so I sold it in the end for $35. Yeah, well, and if anybody's got any ideas what sort of stuff you want to talk about, is there anyone that would like to speak about their own business, about what they're doing, or any special skills or talents they have? So, let me put you straight, Lee, because I know what you're going to say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this used to be something that used to get under my skin no end, because I was busting my ass and there was no way I could try and keep up with some of these people with their listing, and I thought I was quite fast. But what it is, when they're talking listing, all they're talking about is the entering it on the computer. They're not talking about the preparation or the photos or anything else, because the amount of time that you spend comping is huge. And look, I draft first with my books. I can't with the clothing, as you know. You can't get the measurements and you miss a lot of stuff. You could waste your time listing something, doing a draft of a piece of clothing, only to go and take the photos and discover there's a mark on it that you didn't see. So I don't do them first, but the books I do. I find that works better for me, depending on the book. If I think it's not an overly valuable book, I will do a quick scan using the barcode to see what the general value is. And unless that comes up with something that makes me want to look at it and think, oh, that one's worth some money, I have standard prices sort of for my different types of books, like a first edition hardcover with a dust jacket gets priced at, well, I was going to say $29.95, but I think I'm putting them now at like $28.78 or $76 or something, just to, jumble up the sums a little bit. But yeah, no, around that figure, plus post. And, a paperback, depending, will get listed for a good paperback that's not what I call the quick scans, will get listed at around about $22, however many cents I decide. And then I've got the quick scan books, which are pretty much going to get listed at $9.98. If you'll have a look at the one, that's what I do today. I want to spend as little amount of time on these books as possible. I just want them gone. They're huge. Penny Vincenzi, why do you write such big books? Get it in there, take the minimum required photos that I need to do, which I think we worked out was around about 8. I still want people to know the condition of the book, so I do the back. I do one that's angled like so to show the two of the sides, and then I do the spine and the other side. I do inside the first page to show if there's a name or anything written in there. Then the title page, because I'm going to flip over to the publishing page anyway, usually, and then one page of the text. That's it. And then everything else, any other item specifics are there because eBay put them in there. I don't touch them because what's the point there? I'm selling it for $9.88. It did take me some time because you know how pedantic I have been about filling out item specifics. If it's wrong and it's in the wrong category or whatever, I don't. I will list it by hand. Having said that, so as an example, if this book had have come up as a textbook, which believe me, a lot of them do, this book, if you change one of the topics, so you know how, so part of the advantage of doing it this way is that it actually puts in all this information, right? You don't have to add that information in. However, if it's got 2 topics and you change one of those topics, you lose all this. So you can't change it. You can go back and edit it once you've listed it, but when you're listing, you can't. So, for example, it wasn't this one. This one's come up with the topic of lifestyle books. One of her books, I'm sure it was either one of hers or one of the other ones I did today, the topic was genealogy, right? That's ridiculous. So I just leave it as it is, and then I can go back after if I think of it, or I will generally find it when I do the next time I do an end and sell similar on that book. Well, because you can scan from the photo, the barcode off the photo. I do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Just enlarge the photo on your screen and you can scan it. Look, I'm going to say it took me a long time to get my head around the fact that this is what I was doing, but I knew that was going to be the only way I was going to get these books out of my house. I didn't want to throw them in the bin, put it that way. I'm trying to say, get the books back out there I'm not worried about making too much money off these. I will say to you now, doing this has allowed me the beauty of being able to do less when it comes to listing my other stuff, right? So I'm not getting totally head up about making sure that I've filled out every preconceivable thing. In saying that, because I use templates, as you can see, I have 1 or 2. So, for example, if I'm going to list a first edition modern, well, it says first edition modern paperback, but essentially a good priced modern paperback or a first edition hardcover with a dust jacket, I've got certain things pre-built into my template that are already filled out. If I had a heap of penguins or pans, for example, that I was going to be doing, if I've got more than 3 or 4, I go in and I fill it out, pre-fill it out, because then you can fill out like essentially the publisher, where they were published. I don't get too head up anymore with that. People aren't reading this stuff. Even collectors aren't reading this stuff most of the time. But if you put the main things in, your author, your book title, language, I always have that preset in, who the publisher is, the year it was published, where it was published, where it was manufactured, if you can. Don't get head up about it. But the year is important, I feel. Original language is always going to be English. I always have that preset, but occasionally I'll have one that's got to be translated, so, you have to change that. And that's about it. Like, all these things where you tick here and go show more, I don't fill any of that out anymore. My ADHD can't bear to think that there's a task sitting there. eBay's telling me I need to do that task. Do it. And it's like a blinking light sitting in front of me going, do it. So, yeah, I just go in, I can tick the box and I can move on. Look, it's the same with the clothing. Look, it might have taken me 3 years, but there's a very big thing about how much am I worth. Look, if I've got a book that's worth $30 or above, $30 plus post or above, I'm happy to put the bit extra time into it, make sure what a better title, better item specifics. There are some of those quick scan books. For example, one I did today was an historical romance because it was one of the Quill books. So I didn't even have to think about that, what it was. So it was very quick and easy for me to type that in, that it was an historical romance in the title. But that would be the only time I would add anything extra like that. If I have to type those in because it's in the wrong category, if I have to put those in manually, I type them in as if the same way. It's the name of the book by the author. I don't put the brackets in, admittedly, or the comma. I only put in the year, the paperback or trade paperback or whatever, and then I put, if I do happen to know what, like one of the keywords, I'll just type that in. But other than that, I don't type in very many item specifics either. If I've got 6 full-on vintage books that haven't got barcodes, I can do 6 in an hour. I can do 7 if I really push myself, but I'm never comfortable with that because I always feel like I've missed something important. I can tell you now for a fact, because I was doing it right, when I was doing the start of the quick scan books, I can actually get up to 25. How many did I get? What was the most I did get done? Because I was doing them during a 25-minute period. I was getting 25 to 30 books listed. They were live, right? They only had a thumbnail from the, eBay library. And then the next 25 minutes, I was able to take photos for those same books and get them loaded in. And that's only if you are zapping the barcode and sending it live. That's the only way you can do it, I reckon.
I don't know. I think some people just all they do, they'll just type the title in because they've got a routine to type the title in. 3 or 4 item specifics, only virtually the required ones.
Yep.
And if you've got a template, they just copy the title into their description. And I guess the only other thing is if you bucket your price breaks.
That is what I tend to do. And I know Mel, well, I presume she still does it this way too. She used to sell similar of her own stuff quite frequently too.
She'll batch it into categories, so she'll do all her garden books and all cookbooks and things.